Sorry for those that are listening on the app. We're having a little bit of difficulty with the social media portions. Um, just trying to get it all dialed in. So I apologize that I keep pausing, so to speak, over on the app. Um, now it's not even showing me that I'm online. Let's go back over here. Okay, says we're back on. I'm getting texted. It sounds good. So let's hope. I may end a little bit early today just so that way I can play around with some settings and whatnot and see if I can't get it really dialed in. Come on. Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Carrie. So I may end a little bit early just so I can try and finagle with some stuff. It's very weird why it keeps going. The Return of D, Colonial, Indiana lug nuts. I got to give it all. Or long nuts. Why do I say, what did I say? Lug nuts. I said lug nuts. It's long nuts. He's over there on the YouTube stream. How are you doing? The Return of D. I'm back. But yeah, so I'm very blessed that I don't have a commute, to say the least. It's a commute from my bedroom / bathroom to get ready right here to the little front studio. And so thank you to Jason. I know he's done with his morning show, so he probably will be popping on here soon to say hello. But I'm very thankful for this opportunity. I've always been thankful for the opportunity to be on BMR, but for him to welcome me back. Obviously, you guys know I kind of left because of all the things, and kind of leave. I left. I popped on every once in a while, obviously. And with Big Mama, Sean and Betty did an absolutely amazing job. They had an amazing morning show, and we go through seasons of life, and it was hard. It was the death of my dad was something that was unexpected. If you haven't, if you've never heard me talk about the story, I will. It's something though that unfortunately I can't talk too much about because of legality things, but it is something that I'm also making a life mission of mine, is something that is very broken, not just here in Southwest Florida, not just here in Florida. It's extremely broken throughout the United States. And I'm sure that, I can't say I'm sure, I don't know if it's something that is a national, global issue, but at least here for certain in the United States is our healthcare with our elderly and the treatment of our elderly when they get to that very vulnerable state in life. And with that meaning that they need care, they need help, that it fails them. And that is exactly what happened with my dad. And it's truly devastating, just as a whole. Obviously, it's devastating to me because it was my father. But when I look at the whole picture and knowing that now that my father is gone, that this is happening to others and it's going to continue until something is stopped, or something has changed. And so that'll be something that I'm working on too on the back end. And of course, I'll keep you guys up to date and I will bring you along with that journey because we're all getting older. We have family members, parents, grandparents still, if you're blessed enough to still have your grandparents along with you in this life, that you're going through this right now. And so I just am very thankful that I was given the time that I needed to put me, my family first and get over some hurdles in life as it came with the death of my father. And now I'm back. And when Jason approached me about this shift in the radio station, I haven't even gotten to tell him yet this wholeheartedly. So, well, hopefully he's listening. And if not, he can go back on the replay and listen. But it was very like, I had already kind of felt a shift in my life. My son Colin had said to me for a while now that he wanted to start going back to church. And I said, you know what, me too. And this was before Charlie Kirk's death. Um, we had kind of tossed up the idea. I really, I'm one that I like to go to a church where I have friends, very close friends that are there, because it just makes the experience. I'm somebody, I don't like to do something alone, and I don't like to be the new kid. I've always been like that. I don't know if it's just from my childhood trauma that I just don't like to be by myself in an unfamiliar situation without somebody there that I know. And so my very good friends, they've been on. Victoria has supported me throughout life since I've met her just a few years ago. They've turned her and her husband have turned more into family than my actual blood family. She's like a sister to me, and I've wanted to go to church with them and their church, and it's, listen, it's such a horrible excuse, but the church that they used to go to was so far away. And I'm laughing about it, but I feel like I'm not the only one that feels this, that we feel that we have to go somewhere that's convenient. And that's not the case, right? But for me, I'm like, I don't want to drive. I don't want to go that far. I don't want to deal with traffic. So I kept putting it off. I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off. And then, obviously with Charlie Kirk's death, I think that this awakened a lot of us. It awakened something, whether you believe or not. Because listen, I'm not here to change you and say that you need to go to church and you need to read the Bible and you need to pray and you need to do this. That's not me. You have to want to do that inside of you, right? I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a prophet. I'm not anybody special. I'm just me. I'm just telling you how I my life has shifted. Um, and with my life shifting, though, it has made me a happier person. And that's me personally. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's going to happen to you. But if you don't give it a chance, how would you know? Right? It's kind of like if you don't take a chance and you miss it, it's gone. And you sit back and you're like, dang, should I have taken that chance? Should I have tried that new restaurant out after, because we all know how that goes. You hear of a new restaurant opening and then something might happen and it doesn't make it. And you sit and you're like, oh, I probably should have tried that restaurant out. Right. And you live with that regret. And that was me. I was like, I'm not living with regret. But one thing that my dad, we grew up Catholic, right? I even went to a Catholic school. My dad and his parents and his siblings, they were all Catholic. And this is no shame. Just the way that the Catholic Church runs is just not for me. Okay. But my dad, after his stroke, he got, I don't even know the words to use, but he just got this sense of, I need to get back to praying. I need to get back to going to church, which for him, he physically couldn't go. I mean, he could, but he never wanted to put me or my husband or any of us in a situation where he felt like he was inconveniencing us. So he used to watch Sunday church service on his TV every single Sunday. The whole house could hear it because my dad would turn it up so loud. And I'm actually going to start bringing some of his prayers into my morning show. I have to go pull them out. I packed them away, but he had prayers from when he lived for a short time in a assisted living facility. He had prayers that were printed out for when they had services there at the assisted living. And he used to read them daily. And when I say daily, it wasn't just one or two times. I think he read them like three times. I know for sure he read them in the morning. I know for sure he read them at night, but I swear he read them in the midday too, around like lunchtime. But they're very tethered and whatnot. And so those ones I've preserved, so to speak, because those are the last things that I have kind of, like things that he kept close to him, near and dear. Um, so, but I want to bring those in because it's something that he lived by. And it just, when Jason had approached me about this, about wanting to bring it, at first it was a bringing a morning show back. And I was like, all right, cool. And then he told me about the whole shift in the station. And I was like, wow, like our worlds are now aligning back up again. Like we kind of, how it happens, like you've got people in your life and your lives are staying parallel, and then one goes here, and you're not really at the same spots, but it's like him and I came right back. Like we just, like that book just reopened in the chapter and we just started right back up again. And I was like, you know what? I love this. I really do, because as I started, after my dad's death, and I remember going through this 19 years ago with my mom. Um, I was very angry. I was angry. I was 19 and I was extremely angry that I lost my mom. And my mom's death was very sudden too. And I just, you live with a lot of regret. I wish I would have said this to her. I wish I would have done this, all these things. And I lived in that. And then you would have thought by the time now, 19 years later, losing my dad, that I'm now an adult, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, that I would have gotten past that angry stage. But I don't, we all grieve in different waves. And at first I was very angry. And it wasn't so that I was angry. I mean, I was angry that my dad was gone, because my dad was my person. Him and I were so much alike. And I was very angry. And then I shifted to, I wanted to make sure that his name, did not go out in vain, because of his death and the manner of his death. And I was so angry and I wanted to get, justice and all these things and whatnot. And, I'm struggling with myself. I'm like, and I found myself angry, like, God, why'd you do this to me again? I'm now, I feel like I'm an orphan and I'm only 38 years of age. And most 38-year-olds don't go through life without both of their parents, let alone I went through, now this year will mark that I've lived just as long with my mom as I have without. And it's like, now I know I'm going to live longer than, hopefully God, God giving me, that I'm going to live longer without my father. Like, it's just, I was so angry at that. Like, I felt like I was, not only just me, but my kids. Like, he didn't even get to see Colin graduate high school, which, Colin was like his son because he helped me raise him. And he doesn't even get to see Mason grow up. Like, Mason's not even going to remember him. Like, I was just so angry. And then I don't know what it was, that something came over me and I'm like, you know what? I don't get to control this, and I don't know why things happen the way that they do, and it's not my say. And I'm still allowed to be angry, right? I'm still allowed to be. It's a part of grieving, and I am still angry. But I've shifted it because then I think back to my dad, and all the things he went through, and especially after his stroke when he was wheelchair bound, and the days that being right here in this house, because he lived with us, and him being so depressed and so upset and saying, I can't go on any longer. This isn't a life to live and all that. And I used to push him every single day. Dad, no, this is good. You're still here. You're still able to see Colin. You're still able to see Mason. You're still able to talk to your friends. You're still able to do some things. Yeah, life might not be the way that it was previously, but you're still here. And there's still a purpose for that. And even thinking of it, I still haven't figured, wholeheartedly all the purposes that my dad was. But one thing is he shifted back to his faith. He shifted back to, I'm at least going to pray. I'm going to at least do this, every day, where I'm going to pray. I'm going to talk to God. I'm going to ask for, whether it's his forgiveness or for help in something or whatever the case. And so many people have this idea, and myself included, that I thought that if I pray to God and I say to him, God, I want $1 million. Okay. And I know this sounds funny, but this is the way that sometimes we think. And I even did too. And I'm just using this as an example, but we think like, I'm going to pray to God that I get better, right? Because that was my dad. I'm going to pray every single day that I get better. And did he get better to the point that where he wanted to be? He wanted to get back to walking and moving and doing the things like he did before his stroke. And no, he never got back to that. But every single day he did get better at something. Someday, when he first had his stroke, he couldn't use his left hand for anything. He couldn't even open it. To right before he had got, real sick and passed away, excuse me, he was able to use that hand. Like I said, might not be in the capacity of that he wanted, but it did get better. It did get better to where it started. So I had to take a step back and say, okay, I get it. I'm starting to understand that I might not get everything the way that I perceive that I want it to be, but that's not how I need it. God knows how I need things, right? I need my life to go, whether what direction it goes in. He knows the way, and he knows the right way. And it might not be the way that I want, right? It's like being like a little kid, right? You want that new cool toy, but it's not something that you need. You might need the less fancier version of it because it might last longer, right? And that's a hard thing. And that goes for everything in life, right? You might think that you need that brand new iPhone, right? And technology, let's not talk about that because you really probably do need to have the latest and greatest model because, technology grows. But there's different iPhones, right? The ones with the fancier cameras, you might not need that one, right? It just might be a want. So we just kind of have to sit back and say, okay, I have to understand that this is the way that I want things to go. But they might not go exactly that way. They might take a little turn here, a little turn there, or I might not get it exactly as fancy as I want it, or it might not be answered in the way that I want it, but it's going to be answered in the way that I need it to be answered. So, well, Selena, the only thing I can say about that is a church is not a place that you should feel that you're not welcome, or that when you walk into a church, it should make you feel like you are at home. Like you could roll up there however you feel comfortable, and everyone's going to look at you and say, I'm glad you're here. That's the way to be, because you're not there to impress anybody in that congregation. You're there for God. That's it. And that's why I've shifted, in some of my beliefs and the way, that I interpret things, and that's okay. And like I said, I'm not going to push you. If you don't want to believe how I believe, that's okay. That's totally okay, because we're all different and we all have our own beliefs. But I am just very thankful that I have been given this platform to be able to speak how I truly feel. And I know there's going to be some things that people are going to have a hard time with. It's going to be a hard shift, but maybe hopefully, Selena, this enough will be something that'll get you that little kickstart, right? Something that you can be like, all right, because just like you went for a reason, that people were being hypocrites or whatever the case, or they're not understanding you or whatever. And maybe it was just you were in that wrong path. You thought that was the path that you were supposed to take, but God was like, nope, I need you over here on this path. And you just haven't found your way back to that path that he's trying to lead you to. And maybe this right here is that step to go, because I can tell you, at least for Victoria, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about her, but she's one of the ones, her and her husband, even though we have some very funny jokes with each other and we flip each other off, listen, I'm not perfect. Okay. We do things that might not be very godly at times, but they are two people in my life that have brought me back on track, so to speak. And that's what in my opinion, Selena, that you might need is you might just need that friend that brings you back on track and is like, okay, like I'm the one that, yes, I read the Bible And Carrie will tell you. Carrie's a good friend of mine now too. She doesn't even live here in Southwest Florida. We met over there on that old Ticker to Talker app, and we've become very close friends. We text on a daily basis. She knows me very well. I swear like a sailor, right? That's one thing that I am that I'm trying to work on. Okay, I've done very good today. I have not said one swear word on live. I may have at the dog 5 seconds before hitting that live button, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not somebody that is a perfect person, and none of us are, right? We're all made in our ways that we have our unique quirks and um you would just have all these unique things that make us who we are. I say I'm working on it. I'm doing good. Selena, I will sit down with you and I will hear your perspective because I may have been in that same perspective a time or two in my life. And it's hard. I'm not saying that I'm somebody that I don't question God. I don't, because I do. I really do. Some days I'm like, what in the world are you doing to me right now? Like, why are you making life so difficult for me? Right? Like, why? What have I done? Right? I think that's the first thing that we say is, what have I done? But it might not be that we did anything wrong, so to speak. Like I said, we just might be interpreting things differently. And my husband and I've sat out on our back lanai and we've had conversation because he's struggling himself, Selena. He's like, I ain't going to church. He's straight up. I said, I'm starting to go to church on Sundays. I want to get back to it. And I even told Victoria, I said, I'm going to church on Sunday and you're going to see me. And I do want to give them a quick shout out. Excuse me. They are, and correct me, Victoria, if I'm like wording it wrong, because I may be. But they will be starting their own contemporary style church out on Pine Island. My husband and I were just there Sunday helping them cut out a wall for the audio equipment and everything. And her and my now very good friend, I'm sure she'll be listening in at some point in time, Carrie, love her and her husband, Luke. But Carrie and Victoria were shampooing the carpets because the church is from like 1960s or something like that. It's old, okay? And the carpet's original, but they did an amazing job and it looks beautiful. But November 1st, I think I have the date right. I'm going to put up the flyer. I will be there. They're having an acoustic live night. It's kind of like the grand, so to speak, opening of it. But anyways, I told Victoria, I said, I'm going to church. And I told my husband, I'm not going. And that's okay. I'm not pushing him. I said, that's okay. You don't want to go. That's fine. Eventually, maybe he will. And maybe he won't. Okay. I don't know. But I'm not the one that's going to push him. I'm just going to keep living the way that I am and trying to be a better person. And I'm just going to pray for him. That's it. I'm going to pray for my husband. If my husband falls down the same path as me, great. If he doesn't, I can't force him. I can't make him. Just like Selena, I can't force you to do anything. And I'm not ever going to. But hopefully, if anything, maybe just hearing some of me talk and others talk and hearing some of, the devotions that I'll read or some of the prayers, it might just sit with you and you might say, okay, right? Okay. I like that. But again, like I said, I'm not somebody that I'm a perfect person and I never will be. And that's okay. And it's not somebody that's going to quote unquote change you, convert you, or make you change your ways. It's got to be you, right? You have to open your heart and say, okay, I want this change. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to, whatever the case, you have to do it for yourself. And just like I told my husband the other day, I said, look, you believe in God, you believe in Jesus Christ, right? And he said, yes. I said, okay, that's all I need to know. That's it. However, you choose to talk to him to find, because he says, I talk to God every night. I said, well, good. That's all I need to know, is that at least you have that in your heart, and the rest is, that's up to you and God. I can't tell you how you need to receive him or how you need to feel closer to him. That is your relationship. It's just like me saying, well, my husband and I, we do this in our marriage and you should do the same. No, because that might not work for you, right? That's our relationship. Our relationship, mine and Mike's relationship, is completely different from Victoria and Zach's relationship. It's very different from Carrie and her husband's relationship, right? It just like in it, and it's just not relationships as in marriage. It's also your relationships with your children. I parent my children a different way than somebody parents their children, right? And so you have to learn what works for you and what relationship works for you. I can't be the one to tell you. I can tell you what relationship works for me. And if you want to try that, by all means, then go ahead. Maybe that'll open up your eyes. But for me, it wasn't, I just woke up one day and I went to church. I haven't been to church yet in years. I'm going to go Sunday. I already made that promise to Victoria, but it's your relationship. You have to choose how you want to move forward, right? Or not. Listen, I'm not saying if you don't believe, I hope that maybe I can give you a little something maybe to change that, but I can't be the only one, right? It's got to be you. That goes with everything in life, right? I can't tell somebody that is addicted to social media, you need to change, right? You need to get off. You need to do this. You need to do that. You can tell them till you're blue in the face, but until they want to change, they're not going to. So and the only thing I can do is I can just keep loving you. I can keep loving you and I can keep praying for you, or, sending you all the positive vibes and thoughts and all that. But until you want that or want to change your life, yeah, right, Carrie, trust us on that one. I can't do anything. I can just sit here and be me and keep speaking the way that I feel that I'm supposed to. And that's that. And that goes for anything. That's not just in religion. That's in everything in life. That can go on many different beliefs. Political. You could have that belief in, if you think that the world's round or flat, it's in every category, right? We all have different beliefs, feelings, theories, all the things, right? And so I can only speak how I feel and that I'm comfortable, because I don't want to fake something, and I don't ever want anyone to fake anything around me too. So I hope you realize that too, Selena. I don't want you to ever fake and be like, I gotta start praying, and I gotta start reading the Bible, and I gotta start doing this because D wants me to, or that's how I should, because no, be you. I want you to be you. And I want you to challenge me, right? Because that's the only way that we can grow, is if you challenge me and I challenge you, right? It's the only way. I guess that's the competitor in me, right? That's the sports in me, that I want you to challenge me. I was always like, I want to go up against the best, because I might get my rear end handed to me, but at least I got my rear end handed to me from the best. So I want to be challenged. So I challenge you in that in life, is make sure when you are bringing people into your space, into your world, that they are people that challenge you, that you look at them as that they're better than you, right? And I'm not meaning that in a condescending way, right? But you should be surrounding, your circle should be people that you believe are where you want to be in life, or what you strive to be like, right? Because I can give you example, like Victoria, I strive to have her relationship that she has with God. I strive for that. So therefore, I want to be like her. So therefore, she's going to push me to be in like that. And I don't know. She might be thinking like, well, yeah, I want to be like D and X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is, whatever I have that she's striving to. That's the people you want to surround yourself with. Just like, with Big Mama, I'll even give you a funny one. I want to be like him on the radio, right? Okay. So he's the greatest. I want to strive to that. So I surround myself with people like that because I want to embody what that they're doing so well in their life. And it might not just be one thing. There could be multiple things. There's multiple things that Victoria does that I strive to be like her, right? And there's multiple things with Jason in my life. Hell, there's even things that my husband that I strive to be as good as him or if not better. And that's what you need to surround yourself with in life is those kind of people. The people that you strive to be like, whether it's wholehearted, I want to be like them completely, or some certain qualities or things that they have or have done in life that you want to strive for. That's who you need to be around. Well, Victoria, so is your husband. We've got amazing husbands. They might drive us nuts from time to time, but Victoria and I really do. We have some amazing husbands that I know for sure. Victoria's husband is the most selfless man that I've ever met. I can't tell you how many times that Mike and I are like, we do not know how to fix this. And the first person I call is like, can you fix this? Which he says fix my pool, by the way. But no, in seriousness, you do. See, Selena, that's what you're having issues with. And that's why, that's what this is all about, is just to give you different perspective in life, right? I'm not going to change your ways of thinking a whole heart. Not right now. Not in 3 hours am I going to change your way of completely thinking and how you feel. But at least I'm going to challenge you to start there, Selena. Start with your circle and look at the people that you're around and say, okay, I want to strive to be like this person. Just start with one person. I want to strive to be like, I'm going to use Carrie. I want to strive to be like Carrie. And there's a specific, and I'll give you an example. I've only known Carrie. Carrie, we've probably known each other for what? Maybe a month, 2 months now. And one thing that I love about her is she's so calm. And I've seen her get upset, like I've heard her. But she just has this calm to her and this sweetness. And I want to bring that out and put that into me. Like I want to live that a little bit, right? I know I'm not going to be as sweet as her, okay? Because I'm a little firecracker at times. But that's one thing I want to gravitate towards her. And she's helping me on a daily basis by talking to her. I just hearing her voice. I'm like, all right, and then we had a little talk last night about, this show and our beliefs and all this and bouncing. And it's just going to grow even more. And that's it. And that's okay, Selena. I'm telling you right now, Carrie, she's right there above you in the chat. I never have met her in person. I didn't meet her out at a restaurant, nowhere. It was on TikTok. And I'll tell you off air, Selena, what brought us together. But sometimes you just have to find something that you're passionate in. And it can be anything, right? That you're passionate in. And the thing that we're passionate in, it's a really bad thing that's happening. And it's actually happening right here in Southwest Florida, in our backyard, so to speak, to me and you, Selena, not to Carrie, but into us. But it was something that brought us together and that we realized that we had a common goal. We had common views on things, and it brought us together to fight for something. And so therefore you don't have your friends or your people, your family, so to speak, because my friends are more my family than my blood family, because we know how that goes, right? Especially when death happens. It really brings out some things in people. So my friends are more my family than anything. And you just have to find them. And it might be something as silly as TikTok. I wouldn't know Carrie And we have another friend, Wendy, that doesn't live here in Southwest Florida. The only one that Tiffany and I are the only two that live here in Southwest Florida. But the four of us became such great friends, all from TikTok, all from something. It is major because I can't say silly. Something major that is happening that we got onto this whole lore of, and we became really good friends out of it. And that's all I can say on that is you might not find your people face to face, and they don't have to be, because luckily we live in a world of this right here, of technology, of cell phones, that you can pick that up and you can talk to anybody, or you can text them, or you can see them like you are with me right now and communicating, in a chat, you know? So you don't have to find your people face to face. Does it make it easier? Of course. Of course it does. But I've met a lot of friends that I have that are all over the United States, not just because I've known them real life in person, but because I met them through something, right? And most of them are from social media. And that's one thing that is good about social media, that it can bring you a lot of good people. You just have to be a little bit more cautious when it's behind a screen, right? Because if you didn't see me right now, you wouldn't know what I look like. You wouldn't know if I really was a real person. So there is some caution to it, but don't just put yourself in this bubble that you think that you have to physically see them or meet them to have a relationship or a friendship with somebody. So that is all. Sorry, we kind of got on that a little lost track, but it was a good one, right? It was a good one. And I'm glad that we were able to see. There you go. Maybe just we'll talk, Selena. We'll talk. I'm here for you. I truly am. And life is hard, and I know you're going through, your whole grieving process. And again, no 2, 3, 4, no one's grieving process is the exact same. I know how I grieved with my mother, and I'm still not over my dad, and you never will be over grieving. I don't care what anybody says. 19 years later, it feels like I lost my mom yesterday. And there are certain days where I feel like I hear her, like clear as day. And then there's days where I feel like I don't even remember what her voice sounds like. Um, grieving is such a strange is the only word I can come up with. It's just a strange process, but it's one that it's going to be like a roller coaster, right? Some days you're going to be just going up, right? And you're thinking that everything is great. Life is great. And then boom, you hit that hill and you go full speed all the way down and you're at the bottom. And you feel like you're at that bottom and there's no way I'm going back up. And then all of a sudden you shoot right back up the hill. It's just that's the grieving process. And some days are going to be easier than others. Some days are going to be really rough. But I'm going to tell you, on those days that are really rough, that is when that circle of people that on that upward hill that you've created are going to be the ones that when you're at that very bottom, that they're like, all right, let's get back up on that next hill, right? So you just have to surround yourself with the right people. And I pray and I trust, Selena, that you will find those people, or that one person. It doesn't have to be multiple people. You might just have one person in your life that just changes it. And you're like, whoa, where did this come from? But we also have to make sure that we're open to that, right? Because sometimes as humans, because it's human nature, we just close ourselves off. We're like, nope, I don't want to get hurt again. Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm closing them doors and I'm not opening them. I'm not doing it. I'm nailing them shut. I'm nailing all the windows. I'm not letting any light in. I'm not doing it. And then somehow there's like a little crack and that light goes through and you're like, oh, wow, this is kind of nice. And then you start peeling back the layers. So you will get there. I have faith that you will. And like I said, you just might need a little bit of some extra help, and that's okay. That's what life is about. And it's like Victoria said, we weren't made to live this life alone. You know, if that was the case, then God would have just stopped. He would have just stopped. He would have said, okay, that's it. No more. I don't need to make no more. So Victoria's little light did get in. She might be short. I'll tell you, she's my short friend. I surround myself with short friends because Carrie's short too. But her little shortness got in there and she got that little light and she's like, peek. And there we go. So anyways, I appreciate every single one of you. I know I can't see you if you're listening on the app, but I know that you're there. And I appreciate you so much for tuning in. I know that today was a little rocky. It's going to be a little rocky as far as, whatchamacallit, as we work through the bumps and the trials and the sounds and all that. But eventually we will get there to where it sounds absolutely amazing each and every single day. I'm going to work very hard on that. You will, Selena. You will. I know that, and I'm going to pray for you. And I encourage anyone that is listening that believes in prayer to please keep Selena in your prayers. Not that she, needs anything special, just that she can find that guidance wherever it may be, right? Whatever path she is meant to be on, that she finds the guidance to that path and that she finds those people or person that can help guide her to that path. But I appreciate every single one of you. We will make sure that we get everything dialed in and whatnot. I do know that Big Mama Jason, I don't know what he's going to go by on this anymore. He's like he's Jason in some eyes, but I don't think he'll ever get away from the Big Mama name, because it's what made him. But I do know that he is planning on starting a show from 3 to 6. I don't know if he's starting that today. If I do get word that he is starting that today, I'll make sure that I post here on the Big Mama Radio Facebook page and on Instagram, so you guys know to tune in, because I'm very excited to hear him back on these airwaves. You know, he does have his morning gigs, so I am excited to hear what he brings on to the afternoons here on BMR. But I really do. I love you all. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. We will get this all dialed in and we'll have more of a structured show. Not that it wasn't structured today, but I do love this conversation and this is what I wanted more of. I do have a phone line dedicated to this morning show. It's scrolling at the very bottom. For those on the app, it's 239-486-3048. That is not my personal number, just so you guys know. But that is a line that is used here for the morning show for the time being. So I would love to have you guys call in. You can text that number too. But I would love for you guys to really start to start to make this an open discussion. Selena, if you ever feel like you're ready and you want to talk about it and you want the world to hear your story and how you're feeling and whatever the case, I want you guys to be able to call in, right? I want us to be able to have these kind of discussions. I want you to challenge me. I want to challenge you, right? This is the only way that I feel that this type of a morning show will work, is that if we challenge each other and we have these conversations and we open up that space. So, that's my plan going forward, is I want more interaction from you guys. Also, if you guys from now until I go live tomorrow morning, you guys have any prayer requests, please text those to that line. So that way we can make sure that we get those out there. If you want to remain anonymous, by all means, just let me know in the text and say, hey, I don't want people to know it's for me. And that's okay, right? Because God knows. So we don't need to know your name, but if you want your prayer to be out there, please let me know and we'll start that tomorrow. Okay. So I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. Get out, go, get out in the sunshine. It's beautiful here in Southwest Florida. Hopefully, it's beautiful wherever you're at today. But make sure you get outside and enjoy the day and take some time for yourself and recharge those batteries, so to speak, because we all need that, right? Like I've been stuck in this room for 3 hours, so to speak. So I'm going to go recharge my batteries. And I hope that you all do too. And I will see you right back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And again, I will let you know if Jason plans on coming on later this afternoon. If he does, he said he was going to do a 3 p.m. show, Eastern Standard Time. Um, so I will let you know. So I hope you guys have an amazing